is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, North Korea is digging on its nuclear program, declaring its status as a nuclear weapon state irreversible. The move defies the United States' call for denuclearization and sharpens global concerns over security in the region. In the Middle East, U.S. President Donald Trump issues a warning to Benjamin Netanyahu, telling the Israeli leader to be very, very careful after airstrikes on Doha. In Gaza, thick smoke once again clouds the skies as Israeli jets strike 2 more residential towers. The latest escalation leaves families homeless and fears of a wider war growing. In London, a rally billed as a free speech festival erupts into chaos. Police officers injured, dozens arrested, and questions now mounting over how the event spiraled out of control. Russia and Belarus are showcasing military might. Their largest joint drills of the year send a clear message to NATO and the world. More on this later on. In Nepal, grief and defiance come together. Citizens light candles in the memory of those killed during anti-corruption protests. In Brazil, former President Jair Bolsonaro is briefly released from house arrest for a medical procedure. His appearance outside the hospital draws a show of support from loyal followers. Chaos derails the country's biggest cycling race. Pro-Palestine demonstrators storm La Vuelta's finale, forcing organizers to call off the event. In the entertainment world, Super Mario is back. Nintendo and Illumination confirmed the Galaxy sequel blasting into theaters in 2026. And a fishy delight, unusual dessert is turning heads and tickling taste buds in the Philippines. Imagine your favorite fish but not on the grill, instead in a cone. Tilapia ice cream is making waves in Nueva Ecija, blending local creativity with a truly one-of-a-kind flavor. I'm Franco Baranda. Newsline World starts now. Thick smoke blanketed Gaza City on Sunday after Israeli airstrikes destroyed 2 more residential towers. The attacks came after evacuation orders as Israel's military expands operations across the enclave. MJ Mondihar for more details.
The Qatar Tower in Tel Aviv Hawa was hit following evacuation calls by the Israeli military. Footage shows the moment the building was struck, sending plumes of smoke into the sky. Residents later rushed back to sift through rubble, trying to salvage what they could. The Mahana Tower, also located in Tel Al Hawa in western Gaza City, was likewise reduced to rubble. Video captured the moment the high-rise collapsed after being hit with thick clouds of smoke billowing over the neighborhood. In a statement, the Israel Defense Forces confirmed that it had struck 2 high-rise buildings used by Hamas terrorist organization in the area of Gaza City, adding that steps were taken in order to mitigate harm to civilians. One woman described how quickly it all unfolded.
ليش بلغوك وحضروك؟ والله واحد على الباب بعرفش مين هو قال معك 10 دقائق تدخل البرج ولا طلعنا فطوله ولا شيء اخذنا ولا شيء انا شو الصلاه ولا شيء اخذنا طلعنا فطوله بس الحمد لله نحن بخير حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل على كان السبب.
Gaza's government media office condemned the strikes, calling them part of a systematic policy of deception, accusing Israel of deliberately targeting schools, mosques, hospitals, and homes.
The Israeli military rejects the claim, saying operations focus only on Hamas infrastructure. Officials again urged civilians to evacuate toward the designated humanitarian zone in Al-Mawasi. The strikes come as Israel intensifies its ground offensive under Operation Gideon's Chariots II. On the 5th of September, the campaign entered a new phase with a shelling and demolition demolition of residential towers in Gaza City, following Defense Minister Israel Katz's vow to open the gates of hell on Gaza.
Last month, the Israeli government formally endorsed Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to take full control of Gaza City, triggering a series of increasingly destructive military operations across the enclave.
The conflict began on October 7, 2023, when Hamas attacked southern Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and kidnapping over 200. In response, Gaza's health ministry says more than 64,000 Palestinians have since been killed. The Israeli government says its campaign will continue until all hostages are freed and Hamas is dismantled. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been MJ Mondeha, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump tells Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to be very, very careful following Israel's airstrike on Doha.
Well, my message is this. They have to be very, very careful. They have to do something about Hamas. But Qatar has been a great ally to the United States. A lot of people don't know that. I told the Emir, who I think is a wonderful person, actually, I said, you need better public relations because you don't really get the public relations. I mean, people talk of it so badly, and they shouldn't be. Qatar's been a very great ally. So Israel and everybody else, we have to be careful. When we attack people, we have to be careful. They have.
On the other hand, on the first day of his two-day visit to Israel, United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio made a symbolic first stop at Jerusalem's Western Wall. Rubio joined Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday, praying at the sacred site and placing a note in the wall. The two later toured the tunnels beneath Jerusalem's Old City. The U.S. State Department says Rubio's trip will focus on America's priorities in the Israel-Hamas conflict and wider Middle East security. His arrival follows Israeli strikes on Hamas leaders in Doha and the UN's approval of a resolution backing a two-state solution. Spain's biggest cycling race ended in chaos on Sunday after rival pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel rallies flared in Madrid, with demonstrators storming the track during a La Vuelta's finale. Police clashed with protesters, forcing organizers to cancel the race. Sara Santos has more on this.
Barricades toppled and tensions flared as dozens of pro-Palestine demonstrators forced their way onto the course. Footage shows police trying to hold the line, while the racetrack was left strewn with debris. Riot units later fired batons and rubber bullets to disperse the crowds. Organizers confirmed the cancellation of the final stage, declaring Danish cyclist Jonas Vingegaard the overall winner. La Vuelta has faced repeated disruptions over the past week, with pro-Palestine activists demanding the suspension of Israel Premier Tech's participation due to the ongoing war in Gaza.
El día de hoy ganó Palestina la Vuelta. En todos lados, de verdad, España y Madrid se unieron como nunca. Ya no va a haber premiación, ya se canceló la premiación, ya lo logramos, ganamos el día de hoy.
The turmoil spilled into politics. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez praised the demonstrators, saying he admires those who mobilize for just causes like Palestine. Speaking at a socialist rally, Sanchez added that Spain is taking a step forward in the defense of human rights, remarks that drew sharp criticism from the conservative opposition. Opposition leader Alberto Núñez Feijóo accused the government of encouraging unrest instead of condemning it, warning that athletes were even threatening to quit in protest. Spain recognized the Palestinian state earlier this year and has since restricted military supplies to Israel, further fueling debate over Madrid's role in the conflict.
Y creo que todo el mundo debería estar apoyando esto porque aparte de eso creo que son, aparte de política, creo que son asesinatos que no se tendría que hacer ni el centro, ni derecha, ni izquierda. Son asesinatos a gente inocente, punto.
Demonstrators hailed the cancellation as a symbolic victory, but for Spain's most prestigious cycling event, the finale ended not with a finish line, but with political turmoil spilling into the streets. Reporting, Sara Santos, SMNI News.
Coming up, North Korea is digging in on its nuclear program, declaring its status as a nuclear weapons state irreversible. The move defies the United States' calls for denuclearization and sharpens global concerns over security in the region. And in Brazil, former President Jair Bolsonaro is briefly released from house arrest for a medical procedure. His appearance outside the hospital draws a show of support from loyal followers. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Pasasaan pa ang kalayaan kung ang mga alipin ngayon ay sila din naman mang-aalipin bukas.
Ibigin mo ang iyong bayan ng sunod kay Bathala, sa iyong kapurihan at higit sa lahat sa iyong sarili.
Hindi natin mapapalaya ang ating mga sarili maliban kung sumulong tayo na nagkakaisa sa iisang hangarin.
Ang tunay na makabayan ay ang tumutupad ng pagpapabuti ng kanyang mga kapwa, gaano man kaaba ang kanyang katungkulan. Naway magsilbing paalala ang kanilang mga salita upang lalo nating mahalin at tapat na paglingkuran ang minamahal nating inang bayan.
Sa panahon ng tagulan, hindi lang baha at ulan ang dapat bantayan, kundi pati na rin ang mga sakit na pwedeng makahawa. At dahil ngayon ay rainy season, nagbabala ang Department of Health laban sa tinatawag na wild diseases. 4 na klase ng sakit na karaniwang nakukuha ng tao tuwing maulan. Ito ang W o waterborne diseases gaya ng pagdudumi o gastroenteritis. I o influenza-like illnesses gaya ng sipon, ubo at lagnat. L o leptospirosis na maaaring makuha mula sa ihi ng mga daga sa baha. At D o dengue na dala ng mga lamok. Kapag baha, mas mabilis kumalat ang mikrobyo, kaya't ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at agad maligo matapos lumusong sa baha. Ano ang dapat gawin para maiwasan ang wild diseases? Tumutok sa weather updates. Magsuot ng kapote at bota. Siguraduhing malinis ang iniinom na tubig. Agad kumonsulta sa health center kung may nararamdamang sintomas. Mainam din gawin ang 40 o taob, taktak, tuyo at takip para maiwasan ang dengue sa bahay at komunidad. Maglinis, magmasid, mag-ingat. Labanan ang wild diseases ngayong tag-ulan. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Leaders from the Arab and Islamic world are expressing unified support for Qatar following an Israeli strike on the Qatari capital last week. The attack, which targeted Hamas officials, has drawn sharp condemnation and heightened concerns over regional stability. This report from Fatima Nazil.
The Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC, Hussein Brahim Taha, called for stronger solidarity among member states, describing Israel's actions as blatant aggression against the sovereignty of a member state. Speaking at a joint meeting of Arab and Islamic foreign ministers in Doha on Sunday, Taha said the attack threatens regional security and violates international law. Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani condemned the strikes as barbaric and an act of state terrorism. He emphasized that Qatar will defend its sovereignty by all means allowed under international law and reaffirmed the country's commitment to mediation efforts aimed at ending the Israel-Hamas conflict. Secretary General of the Arab League Ahmed Abul Gait echoed the message, highlighting the solidarity of the Arab and Islamic world with Qatar and warning that international silence encourages further aggression. The Israeli strike on Tuesday targeted residential compounds housing Hamas political bureau members in Doha. While senior officials survived, 5 Hamas members and 1 Qatari security officer were killed. Several countries, including Egypt, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and organizations such as the Gulf Cooperation Council, condemned the attack. Statements stress that targeting Doha represents a serious threat to regional stability and a violation of international law. The ministers' meeting sets the stage for an emergency joint Arab-Islamic summit scheduled for Monday to discuss the attack and outline a coordinated response. Reporting for Newsline World, I'm Fatima Nozul, SMNI News.
North Korea has declared that its standing as a nuclear weapons state is irreversible, according to a statement released by its mission to the United Nations in Vienna and carried by state media KCNA on Monday. The mission said the country's nuclear status has been permanently written into its supreme and basic law and dismissed the United States' calls for denuclearization as outdated. The position of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea as a nuclear weapons state has become irreversible, the statement read. Pyongyang accused Washington of interfering in its internal affairs, describing U.S. efforts for denuclearization as a provocative act. It added that its nuclear arsenal is an inevitable option to counter what it calls U.S. nuclear threats. The Thai military is raising fresh concerns after spotting dozens of drones near the Cambodian border, with some flying deep inside its territory. Paul Montibon for the rest of the details.
Thailand's secondary army region said more than 80 drones were detected over areas near the Cambodian border in recent days, with some flying deeper into Thai territory. In its update on Sunday, the army said 6 drones made multiple appearances inside Thailand beyond the immediate frontier, while 74 were spotted operating along the borderline. Officials noted that many of the incursions took place at long distances outside the range where signal disruption measures are effective. The army also reported movements of Cambodian troops in certain locations, though both militaries remain in fortified positions. Thai forces continue to maintain observation posts to monitor activity and stand ready to respond if necessary. According to the statement, the development follows last week's General Border Committee meeting between Thailand and Cambodia. Both countries agreed to withdraw heavy weapons, carry out demining operations, curb cross-border scams, and consider reopening parts of the border. Plans for a partial reopening, however, were met with sharp criticism from a regional army commander and segments of the public, leading authorities to back away from the proposal. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNA News.
Former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro was briefly released from house arrest on Sunday for a medical procedure in Brasilia under heavy police escort. The controversial leader drew crowds of supporters at the hospital. This report. A convoy of police cars and motorcycles transported Jair Bolsonaro to a private hospital in Brasilia, where doctors removed a benign mole from his torso and took a biopsy of a skin growth. Footage shows dozens of supporters cheering as the former president arrived under tight security.
Meu presidente, meu verdadeiro presidente é Bolsonaro. Porque eu não acredito que esse homem tenha perdido as eleições. E ele tem todo o meu respeito, porque ele é um homem digno, um homem de respeito, um homem.
Among those showing support was Congressman Helio Lopez, who reaffirmed Bolsonaro's political future.
O Bolsonaro, que é meu irmão, que a vida me deu, que eu conheço há décadas, não existe anistia light, anistia leve. E anistia não é para beneficiar pessoas. Anistia é um fato. E Jair Messias Bolsonaro é o candidato a presidente em 2026.
Bolsonaro's medical release comes just 3 days after he was sentenced to 27 years in prison for leading a coup plot aimed to staying in power after 2022 election loss. Supreme Court Justice Alexander de Moraes allowed Sunday's outing on the condition that Bolsonaro remain under constant police custody and submit a medical report within 48 hours. This marks the former president's second authorized trip for treatment since his house arrest began. Last month, he went under test for reflux and hiccup symptoms, lingering effects of the stabbing he survived during the 2018 campaign. With Bolsonaro's legal battles mounting and his supporters still rallying, Brazil's political future remains as divided as ever. When we come back in London, a rally billed as a free speech festival erupts into chaos. Police officers injured, dozens arrested, and questions now mounting over how the event spiraled out of control. Russia and Belarus are showcasing their military might. Their largest joint drills of the year send a clear message to NATO and the world. More on this later on. In the entertainment world, Super Mario is back. Nintendo and Illumination confirmed the Galaxy sequel, blasting into theaters in 2026. And a fishy delight, an unusual dessert is turning heads and tickling taste buds in the Philippines. Imagine your favorite fish, but not on the grill. Instead, in a cone. Tilapia ice cream is making waves in Nueva Ecija, blending local creativity with a truly one-of-a-kind flavor. Don't go away. More news after the break.
Sa tuwing bumabaha, hindi lang seguridad ang nalalagay sa alanganin, pati na rin ang kalusugan. Isa sa mga bantang dapat iwasan, ang leptospirosis. Ano nga ba ito? Ito ay isang sakit na dulot ng bakterya na tinatawag na leptospira. Nakukuha ito sa pamamagitan ng kontak sa ihi ng mga hayop na may leptospira tulad ng mga daga. Pwede itong makuha sa pagsulong sa baha o pag-inom ng kontaminadong tubig. Nakakapasok ito sa katawan sa pamamagitan ng mga sugat, mata, ilong o bibig. Ang mga sintomas nito ay lagnat, mapulang mata, hirap umihi, masakit na tiyan, masakit na kalamnan, at masakit na ulo. Paano nga ba maiiwasan ang leptospirosis? Ugaliin ang tamang pagtatapon ng basura dahil ang mga maruruming lugar ang kadalasang pinupuntahan ng dagang may dalang leptospirosis. Iwasang lumusong, maglaro o lumangoy sa baha, lalo na kapag may sugat. Gumamit ng bota at gloves kung hindi maiiwasang lumusong sa tubig baha. Sugpuin ang mga daga sa bahay at panatilihin ang kalinisan sa komunidad. Hugasan ng malinis na tubig at sabon ang mga paa matapos lumusong sa baha. Sa kalinisan ng bawat isa, nakasalalay ang kaligtasan ng buong komunidad. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
In London, what began as a massive rally built as a free speech festival quickly descended into chaos, with police officers injured and more than 20 arrests made. More in this report with Karen Valle.
Over the weekend, police mounted one of their largest operations in recent years, deploying over 1,500 officers from London and regional forces. Authorities say the scale of the rally exceeded expectations, and in some areas, protesters ignored police directions. Over 100,000 protesters filled central London for the Unite the Kingdom rally, led by nationalist activist Tommy Robinson. Crowds marched towards Westminster, carrying banners and chanting slogans. But tensions rose when anti-fascist counter-demonstrations gathered nearby, forcing police to hold a line between the groups. The Metropolitan Police reported assaults on officers, including broken teeth, concussions, and other serious injuries. London policies say more than 20 arrests have been made for what they described as significant aggression. Riot units, horses, and dogs were brought in to prevent further disorder.
We're here today because we feel strongly that the free speech must be a given. Everything that we fought for in this country was for free speech for everybody. Well, I just feel it's been eroded. People fought in world wars to give us free speech. Lots of people from this country and the Commonwealth and all over the world died, and we owe it to them.
Some protesters also voiced support for slain United States activist Charlie Kirk, who was shot dead at the event in Utah this week. President Trump has since announced Kirk will receive a posthumous Presidential Medal of Freedom. From the stage, Tommy Robinson attacked politicians and immigration policies, while controversial broadcaster Katie Hopkins and others rallied the crowd. Making a surprise appearance via video link, Elon Musk called for a change of government in the United Kingdom and warned of what he described as massive, uncontrolled migration.
Whether you choose violence or not, violence is coming to you. You either fight back or you die. You either fight back or you die. And that's the truth.
Today, Elon, I think the British public are telling the world that they're ready to fight back.
Good. Yes.
Come on, Great Britain.
His remarks drew sharp criticism, with ministers branding them inappropriate and dangerous. Meanwhile, around 5,000 counter-protesters joined a march against fascism elsewhere in London, accusing Robinson's movement of promoting extremism. While the weekend protests began peacefully, police say the violent clashes mark only the start of investigations. UK Home Secretary Shabani Mahmood warned that anyone involved in assault or disorder will face, in her words, the full force of the law. From London, Karen Valle, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Russia is flexing its military muscle once again, this time together with Belarus. The two allies have kicked off their biggest joint drills of the year. Erika Rio for the details.
Russia and Belarus have begun their Zapad 2025 strategic drills, a large-scale show of military might across the land. The Russian Defense Ministry says the week-long exercise are running from September 12 to 16 at sites in both countries in nearby seas. Moscow showed coastal jet bombing systems in action, Ka-52M combat helicopters firing on targets, and Belarusian crews using mortars and Igla missiles to down dozens of simulated drones. Officials say the latest Orozhnik medium-range ballistic missile will also be tested during the drills. Erika Rio, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
In Nepal, grief and defiance came together in Kathmandu as locals light the candles to honor those killed in the country's mass anti-corruption protests. Almar Forsuelo has the story.
In Nepal, a candlelight vigil in Kathmandu paid tribute to those killed in nationwide anti-corruption protests that have shaken the country. For grieving families, the vigil was solemn tribute. For others, it was a call to continue the fight for change.
यो वास्तवमा कलाकारको मात्रै हैन, स्वतस्फूर्त रूपमा बढी कलाकारहरूको सहभागिता हुनुहुन्छ र अस्ति भाद्र 23 र 24 गते जुन परिवर्तनका लागि देशमा भएको करप्सन, बेथिति र सुशासनका लागि जुन किसिमको आन्दोलन भएको थियो जेएनजी पुस्ताका भाइ बहिनीहरूले
Residents formed circles of light in the capital, writing tributes on the ground before bowing their heads in silence. The vigil followed days of violent clashes that left at least 51 dead and more than 1,000 injured. Locals say the protest, driven largely by Gen Zs, have come at heavy price but mark a turning point.
जेएनजीका पुस्ताहरूले जुन शहादत प्राप्त गरे, ठुलो योगदान गरेका छन् जेएनजी पुस्ताहरूले, त्यसको हामीले कदर गर्दै मुलुकलाई अब सही दिशामा लान हामी सबैले त्यो पुस्ताका नभए पनि हामी अरू पुस्ताका मान्छेले पनि हामीले योगदान गर्नुपर्छ, सहयोग गर्नुपर्छ।
आज सम्भव हामी एकदमै सफल पनि भएका छौं। उहाँहरूले गर्नुभएको अथाह मेहनत, उहाँहरूले गर्नुभएको जुन मुद्दा उठाउनु भएको थियो एन्टी करप्सनको विषयमा लिएर।
The unrest was fueled by a brief government ban on 26 social media platforms, a move seen as an attempt to silence dissent. The political fallout has been swift. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned, and former Chief Justice Sushila Karki has been appointed interim leader. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forsuelo, SMNI News.
Qatar is drawing a red line. Its prime minister says the country will defend its sovereignty by all means under international law after Israeli airstrikes hit the capital, Doha. Daniela Paulite files this report.
Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani, Qatar's prime minister, condemned Israel's attack on Doha as barbaric and state terrorism, stressing that Qatari sovereignty is inviolable. The warning comes ahead of an emergency Arab Islamic summit in Doha. Regional powers from Saudi Arabia to Turkey have already condemned the Israeli strike. To recall, the strikes targeted residential compounds used by members of Hamas political bureau. While senior Hamas officials survive, 5 of its members and 1 Qatari security officer were killed. Al Thani said the timing of the attack was deliberate, striking just as Qatar was mediating ceasefire and hostage talks between Israel and Hamas. He warned it was not only an attack on his country, but on diplomacy itself. Still, Qatar vowed to press on with mediation efforts with Egypt and the United States to end the Gaza war. Reporting for Newsline World, Daniela Paulita, SMNI News.
The Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. says he understands the public's anger over corruption in the government projects so much. So he admits he might be protesting too if he weren't president. He also appointed the chair of a new body task with investigating flood control anomalies. Creslin Catalon tells us more.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is frustrated over recent revelations of corruption in infrastructure projects. He said he fully understands and even shares the public's anger. In a press briefing at Malacanang on Monday, Marcos said he supports peaceful demonstrations and encouraged citizens to hold accountable all government officials and personnel as well as private individuals involved in anomalies and to make those responsible answerable for their illegal actions. The issue of corruption in infrastructure, particularly in flood control projects, has recently drawn widespread public and political attention in the Philippines.
But it has now been exposed to the general public. Do you blame them for going out into the streets? If I wasn't president, I might be out in the streets with them.
The president said he is just as angry as the citizens and encouraged them to speak out and demand justice.
So, of course, they are enraged. Of course, they are angry. I am angry. We should all be angry because what's happening is not right. So, yes, express it. You come, you make your feelings known to these people and make them answerable for the wrongdoings that they have done.
He even called on the Filipinos to make their sentiments heard.
Palaman ninyo ang sentimento, palaman ninyo kung paano nila kayo sinaktan, kung paano kayo ninakawan nitong mga ito. Palaman ninyo sa kanila, sigawan ninyo, lahat, gawin ninyo, mag-demonstrate.
However, he strongly reminded protesters to keep their actions peaceful, warning that law enforcement authorities would be duty-bound to act if demonstrations turn violent. Marcos Jr.'s words follows the announcement of the appointment of the chairperson of the Independent Commission on Infrastructure, a body tasked with investigating corruption in public infrastructure projects. He announced that former Supreme Court Associate Justice Andres Reyes Jr. has been designated as chairperson of the commission. This announcement comes after the earlier appointment of other ICI members who are tasked with probing alleged anomalies in flood control and other infrastructure projects. Among the previously named members are former DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson and Certified Public Accountant Rosana Fajardo. Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong will serve as special advisor to the commission. For God and from a beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Castellin Catarong, SMNI News.
For our sports update, the Eagles edged the Chiefs 20-17 in a Super Bowl rematch, dropping Kansas City to 0-2 for the first time since 2014. Meanwhile, England's Red Roses powered past Scotland in stormy conditions to secure their semi-final spot at the Women's Rugby World Cup. Carlo De La Peña has more on this.
Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley each found the end zone, and a late interception by Andrew Mukuba sealed the Philadelphia Eagles' 2017 win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Hurts finished with just 101 passing yards, and Barkley was held to 88 on the ground. But the Eagles' defense took control, limiting Kansas City to 294 total yards and forcing the game's lone turnover. The victory pushed Philadelphia to 2-0, extending their winning streak to 7 games and giving them 17 wins in their last 18 outings. It also marked their third consecutive triumph over the Chiefs, who had won the previous 4 meetings. Patrick Mahomes managed 187 passing yards along with 66 rushing yards and a touchdown. But without suspended receiver Rashee Rice and injured rookie Xavier Worthy, Kansas City's offense struggled to generate big plays. The loss left the Chiefs to 0-2 for the first time since 2014, the last year they failed to reach the postseason. Meanwhile, in near-monsoon conditions at Ashton Gate, England stuck to a power game to extend their winning streak to 31 matches. Fly half Holly Atchison showcased her playmaking skills, creating ties for Meg Jones and Abby Doe before crossing the line herself. Replacement Zoe Harrison added spark, while prop Kelsey Clifford powered the over for 2 tries. Morwenna Tolling earned Player of the Match honors, with standout contributions from Rosie Galligan, Zoe Aldcroft, and Sadia Kabia, who topped the tackle count with 20. Head coach John Mitchell praised his side's control and relentless set-piece pressure despite the weather. Next up for the Red Roses is the semi-final showdown against France, once again expected to be played in wet conditions. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
From big screen adventures to big changes in the late-night TV, Nintendo and Illumination are set to bring Mario back for a new galactic adventure, while Saturday Night Live is saying goodbye to one of its longtime cast members. More on this showbiz news from Andrea Santos.
Gamers and moviegoers, it's time to mark your calendars. Nintendo and Illumination have officially announced the Super Mario Galaxy movie, the highly anticipated sequel to the 2023 box office hit. The film is set for release in the United States and global theaters on the 3rd of April 2026, with the Japan release following on the 24th of April 2026. The new chapter promises an interstellar adventure as Mario and friends take the journey far beyond the Mushroom Kingdom. A teaser clip gave fans their first glimpse, Mario snoozing under a tree by Peach's castle before the shot expands into the vastness of space. Returning to the cast are Chris Pratt as Mario, Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, Charlie Day as Luigi, Jack Black as Bowser, Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, and Kevin-Michael Richardson as Kamek. With the first movie grossing over $1.3 billion worldwide, expectations are sky high for this galactic sequel. Meanwhile, over on late-night TV, change is in the air. Ego Woodham has announced her departure from Saturday Night Live after 7th standout season. In a heartfelt statement, she wrote, "The hardest part of a great party is knowing when to say goodnight." Her exit follows a string of cast shakeups including Heidi Gardner, Michael Longfellow, Devon Walker, and Emil Joachim. But fans won't be left without fresh talent. SNL is bringing in new faces like Tommy Brennan, Jeremy Culhane, Ben Marshall, Cam Patterson, and Veronica Sloik-Osca for its upcoming 51st season. This is Andrea Santos, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest showbuzz.
In Nueva Ecija, Philippines, a surprising dessert is making locals and tourists do a double take. Tilapia ice cream, yes, fish turned into a frozen treat, and it's capturing hearts and taste buds alike. Vuelta Abunda has a story.
In Muñoz, Nueva Ecija, a humble freshwater fish has taken center stage in an unlikely setting, the dessert table. Footage shows cook Sweetie Jane Tejada transforming tilapia into what's now being called a sweet sensation.
Pagkatapos po natin i-fillet, isi-steam po natin, tapos gagawin na po natin yung process po ng paggawa po ng tilapia ice cream. Ang mga ingredients po nito ay cream, buffalo's milk, nuts, cheese, and tilapia flakes.
Visitors say the fishy flavor never makes it to the spoon.
Ang in-order ko po ay ang tilapia biscoff ice cream roll. And yung reaction ko po at first, medyo strange yung flavor ng ice cream since in-incorporate yung tilapia. But surprisingly, it was a refreshing and unique way of making an ice cream.
Behind the idea is Dana Vera Cruz, who says the dessert is not just about novelty, but also about supporting local farmers.
Meron po kaming mga napiling mga partners namin, ng mga tilapia farmers that we capacitate them from tilapia grow out hanggang sa processing po, that they will become part of our supply chain. And hindi lang po mga tilapia farmers ang natutulungan natin dito, pati po ang ating mga carabao raisers kasi ang ginagamit po namin dito ay ang gatas ng kalabaw.
The innovation has since gone viral online, even earning awards for both creativity and sustainability. Fish-based sweets are not entirely new across Southeast Asia. Delicacies from carp, catfish, and milkfish have long been paired with coconut, sugar, and tropical fruits. But here in Nueva Ecija, tilapia ice cream is carving its own place as a homegrown Filipino original. From the fish pond to the freezer, tilapia ice cream proves that Filipino ingenuity can turn even the simplest ingredients into something extraordinary. Reporting for Newsline World, Uwela Abunda, SM9 News.
And before we end, may be inspired with the words of the sun. Do what is right, defend what is right, die for what is right. And as we keep track of the countdown, there's only 101 days left before Christmas. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I am Franco Baranda. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.